Femme is an homage to queer femininity because there's an issue within all our cultures, I think, that lesbianism is very rarely, or bisexuality, lesbian identity is very rarely associated with femininity. Most people assume masculine women are gay, but they never think that feminine women can be authentically lesbian or bisexual or queer. So very often those women are invisible. And the film was an homage to those women who move beyond invisibility to make themselves visible within queer culture and within dominant culture as well. That's quite a tricky question because the kinds of films that I make and the film like Femme, very often feminists were hostile to femininity and to the trappings of femininity. So films like that walk a fine line between feminism and kind of queer politics and queer agenda, in which there's a kind of rub. And so I'm not sure if they can change anything, but what it might do is create a debate, create awareness around certain issues. The films that I make deal with memory, shame, and loss within minority cultures. Very often minority cultures are very protective of their spaces, or I should say our spaces, and don't want to project an image that they think is negative. I don't agree with negative or positive images, really. I think they're ideologically linked. But there's this kind of protectiveness in case the dominant world sees them as bad or deviant or something. So what I do is I put a spotlight on the scary things in the corner that people don't want to look at, the complexities, the challenges, the difficulties. And then I quote them in nice images, a bit like medicine. So a lot of times in my films they'd be very beautiful, but also contain messages or thoughts that are quite challenging to mainstream culture as well as to minority cultures. Okay, I wrote the radical film Manifesto because I guess it was to remind myself why I make films, but also where I live in London, I know a bunch of filmmakers who are trying to work differently, to create different images, and we work on each other's films. And it's very easy, I think, to forget that now we actually have the power, the means of production within our hands with digital technology. It's made things much easier. I'm not saying it is easy, but it's easier to make films, to experiment, to try out new things because the equipment is a bit more affordable, and if you can't buy it, you can borrow it. You can even use your mobile phone. You know, it's getting much better. You can use a stills camera. So when I started out, you know, it was beta cameras. So, and those were expensive. Now it's much more affordable. The editing is much more affordable. So I wanted to create a feeling of empowerment for people who thought, I can make a film, but how? How do I make it? What do I think to make a film about? Who do I talk to? So it was a way of empowering other people who might not necessarily be filmmakers, and also filmmakers as well, who are just starting out. Yeah, excuse me, I've just finished shooting a micro-budget feature called Stud Life, which is a queer urban drama. I made it because a lot of the LGBT or gay films tend to be very white. A lot of the urban films, multicultural, tend to be very straight. So I wanted to make something that was more my world, which is mixed, gender-wise, ethnicity-wise. And I think particularly for films which ask questions that are not usual or present worlds and scenarios that are different, funders look and they think, oh, there's not a market for this. I don't want to take the risk to fund it, okay? And this is where the crowd comes in, the crowdfunding. So we used a crowdfunding site called Indiegogo to raise money using social media. So using Twitter, Facebook, we generated a buzz about the film and managed to get part of the funding to be able to start filming from the crowdfunding. And I would say, you know, there are pitfalls and there are advantages to doing this, but it gives one a sense of empowerment that actually you don't need to wait for institutions to affirm you or to give you money to start something, in a way. So far, I'm totally enjoying it here, and I was there for the opening film, which was amazing, and Nanette. I like that the festival allows a level of experimentation and a kind of challenge to documentaries as well, so there's not just the straight documentaries with talking heads that everybody knows about, but those forms as well. And the personal is political strand. It will be interesting to see the response to the films. There's going to be a debate after. And I do think that the personal is political, and if more people thought about changing themselves rather than just thinking, oh, if only the world changed, everything will be all right, while they sit, you know, clicking on the remote, not moving out of their, you know, sofas. I do think we have the power within ourselves to execute change. And in a way, we've seen that in Egypt. People just said, enough, basta, you know, this is enough. I think we can gain a lot of inspiration from interesting movements that are happening now in Africa and the Middle East. Absolutely. I mean, it's because of this festival that I'm here, and I think programmers in festivals who are not afraid to challenge the status quo, who are not afraid to take risks, because I've programmed as well, and, you know, come in as an artist too. So, you know, fair dues to Elena and Sophie for curating that program, because I think they're going to take a lot of risks, because I know the films are not easily describable as feminist films, but they raise questions around feminism. They create a debate, you know, around sexuality, around identity, around gender, and I think that's where we're at now. You know, I think we realize that it's not just about gender, it's about a whole multiplicity of things that interact to create somebody's identity, and it's fluid and it's flux. One day it can be one thing, another country it can be something else. Do you know what I mean? How things are read. And so I'm looking forward to the discussion after as well.
Right. So that's it.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. Those are great questions.